Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. You guys sent in some really cool stuff about this deep research thing.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be talking all about that today. We've got an episode here of a Taiwanese podcast called San Sanye. It's pronounced something like Keji Lang.
Roughly. Yeah.
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah.
It's deep research. What is it?
It's basically like, well, you know how we've been talking about these AI agents that can like use the internet and stuff? This is basically like a super powered research assistant that uses the internet and also Python to do really in-depth research on whatever topic you give it.
And then it gives you like
It gives you back a report.
a report. So like I can just be like, hey, deep research, tell me everything about X.
Exactly.
And also give me your personal opinion on it.
And it will synthesize all this information. And one of the really cool things about deep research, and this is something that the Keji Lang podcast really dives into, is that it's not just like a cool new tech thing.
Right.
It has the potential to fundamentally change the way we learn, the way we work, the way we even understand the world.
Yeah.
So this is a pretty big deal.
It is a big deal. So what evidence do we have from this podcast?
Well, they start off by talking about these two benchmarks that deep research just aced. One of them is called the Humanity Last Exam.
Okay, Humanity Last Exam?
Or HLE.
I like it dramatic.
Yeah. It's basically like, you know those exams that are designed to stump even the smartest humans?
Yeah.
With these like ridiculously specific questions from a ridiculous number of fields.
But like what would be on this exam? Like what kind of...
I don't know, like the anatomy of a dodo bird or, you know, the history of Sumerian law. Or
okay, so like super niche.
Super niche.
And like how did deep research do?
Most AI models score like 3 or 4 out of 100 on this thing.
Wow, that's rough.
It's really hard. Deep research got a 26.
Wow.
Which is huge.
Okay, that's a pretty big jump.
Yeah.
So it can handle these super niche questions.
It can handle these super niche, really, really specific questions.
What about stuff that's not so niche? Like stuff that's more helpful in my day-to-day life.
So the other benchmark is called the General AI Assistance Benchmark, or GAIA.
Okay.
And this one, instead of testing for like obscure trivia, it's actually testing for practical, real-world tasks that humans find easy.
Okay.
But AI traditionally struggles with
like what?
Like interpreting charts, summarizing articles, navigating a website to find a specific piece of information.
Okay. So much more like helpful in my...
Exactly. Stuff that you might actually want to use an AI for. And deep research pretty much crushed this benchmark too. Scored near perfect.
So it's good at both the niche stuff and the helpful stuff.
Okay.
Seems to be...
So what's its secret? What's going on here? How is it doing this?
Well, the podcast gives a couple of possibilities. One is that it's using... and this is just speculation, but that is using a supercharged version of OpenAI's most powerful model, which is called O3.
That's not even available to the public yet.
So it's got like special access to
It's got special access,
this super brain.
Yeah. So that could be part of it.
Okay.
And then the second possibility, and this is even more speculative, is that it might be using this other OpenAI tool called Operator.
Okay, I've not heard of that one.
Yeah, Operator is basically designed to actually use a web browser.
What?
Like a human. Like it can click links, it can fill out forms.
So it's like, it's not just reading text, it's like...
it's actually interacting with the web.
Okay.
Excellent. So that could be how it's doing some of this stuff. But yeah, it's still a mystery.
So we don't know for sure.
Okay.
Interesting.
We don't know for sure. It's all speculation at this point.
Okay. So this all sounds great. But how much does it cost? Because, you know, if it's amazing and it could do all this and it costs like $1 million a month, then I can't use it.
Well, so you need ChatGPT Plus to access deep research, which is $200 a month.
Oh, okay.
It's not cheap.
It's not cheap, but it's not prohibitively expensive.
No.
It's like you really have to want it.
Yeah. Okay. So the host of this Keji Lang podcast, they actually use deep research themselves.
We do, yeah.
And so they talk about some of their experiences and...
yeah, they give some examples.
Give some examples. So, like, what kind of stuff did they use it for?
Well, one example they give is they asked it to do a report on intermittent fasting.
Okay, yeah.
Which is a topic where there's just tons of conflicting information out there.
Right. Everyone says something different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were really impressed with how deep research was able to cut through the noise.
Okay.
And give them like a balanced overview. And even personalized advice?
Personalized advice.
Yeah.
So it was like taking into account their
specific situation.
Like specific situation.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
It is.
Yeah.
It's kind of like having a consultant almost.
Right.
But like an AI consultant.
Okay. So they were really impressed with that. And then they give this other example, which is pretty funny. They asked Deep Research to find every instance of this fictional drink called Melton Dew from the animated show Rick and Morty.
Oh.
Which, if you're not familiar with it, it's a show that's known for its...
Lots of like weird details. And stuff.
Yeah, lots of weird, obscure details. So it's like a perfect test for a research tool.
Right.
And Deep Research aced it.
So it found every time that Melton Dew was mentioned.
It found every time it appeared visually.
Oh, wow.
Or was mentioned.
Wow.
Yeah, even distinguish between like visual appearances and just verbal references.
Okay.
And they tried this with other search engines and AI tools like ChatGPT's own search function, and they all struck out.
Oh, wow. So Deep Research is...
Deep Research found it.
Like better at finding stuff than
way better.
Google, basically.
It seems like it, yeah.
Wow.
So that was a pretty cool example.
That is a cool example.
Okay.
Okay, so one other thing that they mentioned in the podcast, which I thought was really interesting, is that Deep Research shows you its thought process.
Oh, yeah.
Like as it's working.
That is really cool.
So you can actually see how it's searching.
You can see what it's thinking.
Yeah. And so like how does that even work? Like what does that look like?
Well, you can see like what search queries it's using.
Okay.
You can see how it's evaluating sources for bias.
Wow.
You can even see how it's considering alternative strategies, like using cached pages, if it can't find the information directly.
So it's like you're peeking into the mind of a researcher.
Exactly.
Right.
It makes it feel much less like a black box and more like you're collaborating with this really intelligent entity.
It almost makes it feel human.
Yeah. In a way, yeah.
Okay. But obviously, Deep Research isn't perfect.
Of course not.
No AI is perfect.
Right.
So what are some of the things that it struggles with?
Well, like all large language models, it can still hallucinate.
Okay, so it can still give you wrong information.
Sometimes.
They give this example where it misattributed a specific AI model to the wrong company.
Oh.
So it can make mistakes like that.
So we still have to kind of...
We still have to fact check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess it's nice that you can see its thought process, so
Yeah.
maybe you can kind of...
You can get a sense.
where that went wrong.
Yeah, like where it might have gone off the rails.
Okay.
But the bigger issue that they talk about is that Deep Research can sometimes fall down these rabbit holes
Oh, okay.
and get sidetracked by irrelevant information.
Okay. So it's like it gets distracted.
It gets distracted,
Yeah.
yeah. So they give this example where they asked it to do research on a specific topic, and it went on this long tangent about reinforcement learning techniques, which had nothing to do with the original question.
Okay. So it's like it starts going off on a tangent and...
It just gets lost.
It gets lost.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So it's not perfect. It still needs a bit of guidance.
It still needs a bit of guidance.
Exactly.
Okay, well, how does it compare to the competition? Because I know Google's been doing a lot in the AI space.
Yeah, they have.
They have their own version of Bard now.
They do.
Do they have their own version of Deep Research?
They do. It's called, wait for it, Gemini Deep Research.
Oh, okay, catchy.
Very creative, I know.
Yeah.
But it's actually 10 times cheaper.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You only need the Gemini Advanced subscription, which is about $20 a month.
Okay.
So that's a big difference.
That is a big difference.
But the trade-off is that it uses a less powerful model
Okay.
and a very different approach.
So tell me about that. What's the different approach?
Well, Gemini Deep Research basically reads like tons and tons of information up front.
Okay.
Like thousands of pages.
Oh.
And then generates its report all at once.
Okay. So it's more like a
It's more like a brute force approach,
brute force.
whereas Deep Research is more iterative. It's more like a human researcher.
Okay.
It's constantly refining its search strategy as it goes.
So it's thinking more.
It's thinking more deeply. It's thinking more deeply.
Yeah.
Okay. But here's a bold prediction. I think Google is going to catch up very quickly.
Why do you think that?
Well, they just released their Gemini 2.0 flash thinking model,
Okay.
and it's showing remarkable efficiency and accuracy.
Okay.
If they integrate that into their deep research tool, it could be a game changer.
So they could close that gap pretty quickly.
They could.
Okay.
So that's something to watch.
Okay.
And then there's the wild card.
Okay. Hit me.
Open source.
What?
Yeah. There's this project called, you guessed it, Open Deep Research.
Okay. So there's like an open source version of Deep Research?
Yeah, it's very early days.
Okay.
But it's exciting to see what they come up with.
So they're trying to basically build
They're trying to build a community-driven version.
Community-driven version of the research.
And they're using a combination of open source models and APIs.
Okay, interesting.
So it's a very different approach.
So what does all this mean for me, the listener?
Well, I think the big takeaway here is that we're on the verge of a huge shift.
Okay.
AI agents like Deep Research are going to change how we do research, how we learn new things, how we even make decisions.
And so this is like a fundamental shift in how we interact with information.
It is. And it's going to have huge implications for everyone.
Yeah. Like, what are some of the...
Well, for one thing, it can make experts even more powerful.
Right? Because they have access to...
They have access to these...
Even more tools and information.
Even more tools and information. But what happens to the people who don't adapt?
Right.
That's a big question.
That is a big question.
Yeah.
And the KG Lang podcast, they say a lot of people are claiming that consultants are done.
They do say that.
Yeah.
Because of Deep Research.
Because if you can just ask Deep Research any question you have
and
get a really good answer.
A really good answer.
Yeah.
What do you need a consultant for?
Exactly. Interesting.
So that's just one example.
Right. There's probably tons of professions that could be transformed.
Absolutely.
Like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is something to keep an eye on.
Definitely. That's a very interesting development. Okay. So we've talked about how good Deep Research is.
We have.
We've talked about what its secret might be.
We have.
We've talked about some of its flaws. We've talked about the competition. What else do we need to talk about?
Well, I think we need to talk about the bigger picture.
Okay.
Like, what does this all mean?
All right. Let's do it.
So before we went to the next part, we were talking about this idea of critical thinking and how important it is in this new world of AI.
Right. It's not about letting the AI think for us.
Exactly.
It's about using it to help us think better.
To think better, yeah. And the Sunny podcast actually gets into some really interesting examples of how Deep Research could shake up different professions.
Oh, yeah?
So I thought it'd be fun to play a little game of AI job swap.
Ooh, I like it.
I'm going to throw out some careers.
Okay.
And you tell me how you think Deep Research might change things.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay. First up, journalists.
Okay.
What happens when you have an AI that can scour the web for information, analyze sources for bias, and write a coherent news report in minutes?
Oh, man. Journalism's already changing so rapidly.
Right.
Would this just make it even more chaotic?
It's hard to say, but one possibility is that it could actually help streamline things.
Oh.
Deep Research could take over tasks like fact-checking and data analysis,
Right.
which would free up journalists to focus on the human element of stories.
Okay, so it's like it's taking care of all the grunt work.
Exactly.
And then the journalist can focus on the more
creative,
the more human,
the storytelling aspects.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's like having a super-powered research assistant working alongside the reporter.
I like that. That makes sense.
Okay.
What about lawyers?
Ooh, lawyers.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Could Deep Research replace high-priced legal teams?
Well, I don't think so.
Okay.
While Deep Research could be amazing at analyzing legal documents.
Precedence case law. It still lacks the human skills that are needed for a good lawyer.
Like what kind of human skills are we talking about?
Things like negotiation courtroom strategy. Even just understanding the emotional nuances of a case.
Okay.
Those are things that AI is still not very good at.
Right.
So it's not going to be like you have a robot lawyer arguing your case in court anytime soon.
Okay, good. I'm not ready for that yet.
But it could make legal expertise more accessible.
Okay.
Imagine a world where everyone, regardless of their income, could have access to an AI that can help them understand their legal rights.
Oh, that would be cool.
Their options.
Yeah.
Yeah. That could be a really powerful tool for social justice.
That felt.
So it's not about replacing lawyers. It's about augmenting their abilities.
All right, giving them more tools.
Giving them more tools. Making them more effective.
Okay, I like that. All right, last one, financial analysts.
Okay.
Could Deep Research replace Wall Street gurus and manage our investment portfolios?
Well, we're already seeing AI play a bigger role in finance. With algorithms handling trades and managing investments, Deep Research could take that to the next level by providing even deeper insights and potentially offering personalized financial advice.
So it's like having Warren Buffett in your pocket whispering stock tips.
It's a bit of a simplification, but you get the idea.
Okay.
But again, there are limitations. Deep Research can crunch the numbers, but it can't truly understand your individual risk tolerance, your financial goals, or your emotional attachment to certain investments.
Okay, so it's not about replacing human judgment.
Right.
It's about providing more data and insights.
To help people make better decisions.
Yeah. Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
So we've seen how deep research could impact different professions. But what about us everyday folks?
Right.
How will this technology affect our lives beyond work?
That's where things get really interesting. Imagine a world where everyone has access to personalized, in-depth research on any topic imaginable.
Wow.
Think about the potential for education, for example.
It's like having a personal tutor who can tailor lessons to your specific learning style and interests.
Exactly. And think about healthcare.
Okay.
What if you could have an AI that helps you understand your medical conditions, research treatment options, and even connect you with the best doctors in your area?
It's like having a team of medical experts at your fingertips.
It is.
Wow.
And let's not forget about our daily lives as consumers. Imagine using deep research to compare products, analyze reviews, make more informed purchasing decisions.
So it could help us cut through all the marketing noise and get to the heart of what matters.
Yeah.
But with all this access to information and AI-powered analysis, do we risk becoming less discerning ourselves?
That's a great question, and it brings us back to the importance of critical thinking.
Right.
We can't just accept everything deep research tells us as gospel truth.
Okay.
We need to develop those critical thinking skills to evaluate information, identify biases, form our own judgments.
So it's about using AI to enhance our own thinking, not replace it.
Exactly.
Okay. So it seems like deep research has the potential to be both incredibly beneficial and potentially problematic.
It does.
It all comes down to how we choose to use it.
It does. Technology as a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or for ill.
Right.
It's up to us to guide its development and ensure it's used in ways that benefit humanity.
That's a powerful message.
Yeah.
We need to be mindful of the potential consequences of AI.
Absolutely.
And work together to create a future where it's used ethically and responsibly. But what about the long-term implications?
Yeah.
What are some of the bigger changes we might see as AI agents like deep research become more integrated into our lives?
That's where we get into the realm of speculation and bold predictions.
Oh, I like it.
If I had to make one prediction, I would say that deep research or something like it will fundamentally change how we define and value expertise.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Well, imagine a world where access to information and powerful analytical tools is readily available to everyone.
Okay.
It could democratize knowledge in ways we haven't even begun to imagine.
So everyone becomes an expert overnight?
Not exactly. But the barriers to entry for many fields could be significantly lowered.
Okay.
And the traditional gatekeepers of knowledge might find their authority challenged.
That's a fascinating thought. Would it level the playing field, or would it create new forms of inequality?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's something we'll need to address carefully as we move forward.
Definitely. But it also raises a question about the value of human expertise.
Right.
If AI can do all this research and analysis, what role will human experts play in the future?
That's a complex question that we'll need to grapple with as AI continues to evolve.
Okay.
But I believe there will always be a need for human judgment, creativity, empathy.
Okay.
These are qualities that are uniquely human and that AI, at least for the foreseeable future, can't fully replicate.
So even in a world where AI can access vast amounts of knowledge and perform complex analysis, human expertise will still be essential.
I think so.
It's about finding the right balance between leveraging the power of AI and nurturing the qualities that make us human.
Exactly. And that brings us to the end of part 2 of our deep dive into deep research.
Wow, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
Explored some fascinating possibilities, even delved into some philosophical questions about the nature of expertise and intelligence.
It's been a thought-provoking journey.
It has.
But we're not done yet.
Oh, there's more.
When we return for part 3, we'll wrap things up with some final thoughts and predictions about the future of AI agents.
Oh, okay, I can't wait. So stay tuned for the exciting conclusion of our deep dive. Welcome back to our deep dive, everybody. We've been exploring this amazing new tool, deep research.
It's been quite a journey.
It really has. We've talked about how it works, some of its strengths and weaknesses, the competition, and even how it could impact our lives in the future.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have. So let's wrap things up with some final thoughts and predictions about the future of AI.
Sounds good to me.
So where do you see this all going? What's one thing you think will change dramatically because of AI agents like deep research?
Well, if I had to pick one thing, I'd say the way we acquire and process information.
Okay, how so?
Imagine a world where learning is personalized and on demand, where you can access the collective knowledge of humanity in an instant.
Wow. So it's like having all the world's information at your fingertips.
Exactly. And that's going to have a profound impact on education, on research, on how we make decisions in our daily lives.
Yeah, that's a pretty big shift.
It is.
Okay. So what else? Any other bold predictions?
I think we're going to see the rise of what I call augmented expertise.
Augmented expertise.
Yeah, this isn't about AI replacing human experts. It's about using AI to enhance their abilities, make them even more effective and efficient.
So it's like giving experts a superpower boost.
Exactly. Think about doctors using AI to analyze medical images, diagnose diseases more accurately, develop personalized treatment plans.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Or lawyers using AI to research case law, draft legal documents, build stronger arguments.
So it's like AI becomes a tool the experts can use to
amplify their skills.
skills.
Yeah, okay.
And this augmented expertise could lead to breakthroughs in medicine, science, technology, countless other fields.
That's exciting. But as with any powerful technology, there are potential downsides.
Of course.
We've talked about the importance of critical thinking, making sure we don't become overly reliant on AI.
Right.
What are some of the other ethical considerations we need to keep in mind as AI becomes more integrated into our lives?
Well, one of the biggest concerns is bias.
Okay.
If AI agents are trained on biased data, they could perpetuate and even amplify those biases in their outputs.
So it's not enough to just create powerful AI. We also need to ensure that it's developed and used in a fair and ethical way.
Exactly.
Okay.
That makes sense.
We need to be mindful of the data we're feeding these AI systems and actively work to mitigate biases.
Right. So it's a lot of responsibility.
It is.
Okay. Well, it sounds like we're on the cusp of some pretty amazing changes. A little bit scary, but also really exciting.
I agree.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's one final thought you want to leave our listeners with?
I think the most important thing to remember is that the future of AI is not predetermined. Okay. It's something we're creating right now with every decision we make.
So we all have a role to play.
We do.
In shaping this future.
We do.
All right. Well, that's a great note to end on. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time.